If you're looking for ways to save money on groceries in 2025 and make meal planning a breeze, you've came to the right place, because today I'm going to talk about how I utilize a grocery planner to cover all of these things. If you're looking to save money on groceries in 2025, I am going to show you how I'm using my brand new grocery planner to reduce our food waste and make meal planning a breeze. So I'm going to take you through all the tips and tricks to use the 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐶 grocery planner, but this would also work if you are using a notebook or any other style of journal. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like to have more budget-friendly videos coming your way. If you're just meeting me, my name is 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐶, and this is the 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐶, where I actually went viral 3 years ago teaching produce tips, and since then I've had a TED Talk and became a best-selling author with our newest book that just came out, The Zero Waste Produce Guide, which is now available in 27 countries. So make sure that you check out the link in the description below, and I have a secret discount code for you that's in the description so you can save even more money if you buy the book and the planner together. As we kick off the new year, I want to show you how I meal plan, and honestly, I hate meal planning. I don't know what I want to wear in the next day or two, so how am I supposed to know what I want to eat? And it always seems like it fluctuates with how I'm feeling or what the weather is. So I am going to teach you how I use my meal planner to have all the ingredients that I need at my house, and they are safe to use, safely rotated, and fresh. When we designed these meal planners, we actually did it based off of my last 10 years of journals that I have kept on inventory that we have in the house, meals I'm making, recipes, all of this golden information that's right here in these notebooks that I have for over 10 years. I love the fact that these become like time capsules of our lives, of what's going on. It shows when we were really busy with our kids here, with things kids didn't like as we had foster kids in our home. It also shows as we were struggling with financial issues, exactly how I was keeping track down to the penny what I was spending. And so with all of these years of wisdom is how we made these meal planners, so it will truly help you save money on your groceries. I also love that with these journals, I keep them on my shelf, and my kids know where they are. Now that they're grown and flown, they can literally call me and say, "Mom, I want that certain recipe, and I remembered it was in this one that had the pink pages." And so I can look up a recipe and give them exactly what they want. They know the recipes that they remember from their childhood, and they want to remake them for their lives now. And it just reminds me of the fact that Grandma had given me this cookbook that was actually her mother's, and it's over 100 years old. And when you sit here and you look through the handwritten notes in here, and to know that this was actually the great-grandmother's handwriting in this, it's just a truly magical thing that I am cherishing, having this family heirloom. And I hope someday that my family will look back on these meal planners and see what grocery prices were and meals that I was planning, and how I was dealing with health difficulties for myself and my kids at certain times, how we managed through that. And this could just be a really great thing to show future generations what it's like to be a homemaker. We are going to walk step by step through the features of this meal planner, which is on sale and has a coupon code and all the things listed in the description. But I just want you to know that you can do these same skills just in a regular notebook. This just makes it a lot easier for you. I'm gonna hold up this avocado one because I know it's blank and I don't want to give you all my phone number. In the inside of this, it is so important to either write your name and your phone number, or your Facebook name, or an email address, or something in there. If you lose this at a grocery store, somebody can get in contact with you. And I actually freaked out this summer because I thought I had left my planner that I had been working on for over a year in a grocery cart, and it ended up being in the crevice of my car. So just having that peace of mind to know that it already had my information inside. I actually put my email address on there there, but I have my information in there that somebody could get a hold of me if they did find it, and hopefully they would. But just make sure that you do that in any notebook that you have that you are taking to and from the grocery store. So talking about these planners in particular, these are fill-in date calendars, so you can start them any time of the year. And if you kind of slack off and stop doing it for a couple weeks, then you can pick it back up and fill in the dates where you left off, and that way you don't have any missing empty pages. When you first open the notebook, there is a list of table of contents here. They don't have page numbers on them, but they are in order. So if you're trying to remind yourself if there is a certain reference guide in here, that is a great place to look. And then we go to the next page that just talks about me. There's also on the next page, there is a QR code if you're trying to remember any of the links to go find our different social media platforms. They are all right there in that QR code. But the book really begins on the third page of the book. This is where there's a conversion chart, which I love, so you can remember things like a quart, if I happen to say that in a recipe, is actually 4 cups, or the different conversions between teaspoons and tablespoons and that kind of thing. And then this shelf life reminder is so handy. This is when you're looking at the best by date on a can or a salad dressing and something that hasn't been opened yet, and wanting to know how long it's going to last in the pantry past that best by date. So if it is a low acidity item, it will last for 3 years. If it's a high acidity item, it will last for 18 months. And if it is a condiment or a salad dressing, it should last for a year after that best by date. And all of those and the lists of what they are right here on this chart. And I just did a video on this recently in the last couple weeks. So if you want to have more information on canned storage, we do have a video for that. We will put all of the videos that I'm referencing down in the playlist. This next page is a list of basic pantry essentials. So if you have oil, salt, water, basic baking needs, some of your basic spices, some of those things that you probably should keep on the shelf in one form or another, like pasta sauce or diced tomatoes. This is a very cut down, like, starter pantry. And then on this other list, I have started writing things that are important for me to make sure that we always have them. So sometimes you might throw away the last bottle or jar or can of something and not realize. And so that empty container isn't triggering a memory for you that it needs to go onto the shopping list. So as you are building this planner and making a shopping list of the essentials that you should always have in the house, it's easy to look at that list and make sure that you're not missing anything. This list here on this next page is things to watch for as they're on sale. So are you running out of something and you really don't need it yet and waiting for the next sale on it? For me right now, I was waiting for January for protein powder to go on sale. Normally I can find it on sale in January for sure, and sometimes in July. I've noticed that Costco has it on sale again. So when I go for our grocery shopping trip here in January, I'm making sure that I have enough to get me through the next time it's on sale. So these are things that you might not need to buy right now, but if they did go on sale and you saw them, you would want to be getting them. And the next few pages of the book is all about produce. So we give you a quick reference guide to where things should go into your refrigerator as you're putting things away. There's pages about berries and what order to eat them in, so you know that raspberries are going to deteriorate much quicker at 2 to 3 weeks compared to blueberries that will last 6 to 8 weeks. And that way, as you're meal planning, you can pull out the items that will spoil quicker. And then we also have pages here just to remind you about what items are produce buddies and should be in a fruit basket together or the crisper drawer, and which ones do not like each other and should be far apart. There's also a couple reminders about things that need metal lids or paper towels in here, but these are just quick reference guides. The detailed written instructions for that you can find in the Zero Waste Produce Guide, where we also have a master list at the back of that book that has all the information you need for all 75 items as a quick reference guide. So this is just meant to be while you're meal planning, and the actual instructions on how to do that are in the book, or there's like 500 videos here on our YouTube channel that you can learn those skills also. These next pages talk about my grocery cycle and how I have figured out that every 3 weeks to go to the grocery store is the perfect number for us. But no matter what your goal is and what you're currently doing going to the grocery store right now, it's important to write down a goal of what you would like to achieve in the coming months. So if you're going to the grocery store every day, can you spread that out to once a week? If you're going to the grocery store, just randomly, can you go to the grocery store with a plan? Those kind of goals, let's write them down so you can look back in the coming months and see how you've improved on your habits. These next pages in the planner are for seasonal inventory. I have a whole nother video on taking inventory that's actually going to come out after this video. So if you're watching this on the day that it's coming out, make sure that you're checking back or hitting that notifications button. So this video is actually about seasonal inventory, and I'm actually filming another video about inventory that will be the next video that goes up after this one. So make sure you're hitting that notification bell on our channel and you get notified when our new videos get posted. So on these pages, I'm not writing the complete inventory of everything I have in the house. I'm just putting some reminders down of things that I wouldn't normally think to go get out of the freezer, maybe in the middle of winter. For me, that's normally like salmon and shrimp. Like those, I kind of feel like we eat more in the spring and summertime, and I'm thinking about those for meals. But I do know that I have some salmon and some shrimp that is in the freezer that I need to use up and not let it sit in there for a couple more months. And then I was also making a list of winter freezer meals that I make and have in the freezer. That way I'm kind of checking these off the list as we move through the year into spring and summer, because these are ones that I would turn on the oven to finish cooking or reheating, and we don't use those during the summertime. So I want to make sure that I have a list of what I currently have, and it makes meal planning easy when I know that I can go grab those meals that are already done in the freezer. This page for your allergies, your favorites, you can put your dislikes on there too, is so important. It's especially a fun thing to do as your kids are like growing up too, as you can see things that they're adventurous in trying for the first time or maybe wanting to try again. But I also like these lists on here because my kids are grown and flown, and sometimes I forget what their favorite meals were. So when they're all home, I can remember and I can make something that everybody liked, or if just one person is home for the weekend, I can make their special meals. So being able to keep track of these over the years is a lot of fun. And I'm just saying that sometimes, like for stockings or baskets, if somebody needs help doing that, putting down some of their favorite things there too on snacks and things to make someone feel special, it's nice to have all of these lists all together. And then for this favorite meals, I just think it is so important, especially me, that I don't like to do recipes very much. So I try to write down what I made and the ingredients that I use, so I at least have a reminder to go back and want to remake one of these meals. So this is a great place to keep track of those favorite meals. If you need more room, there's blank pages in the back. I like to divide these up between fall, winter, and spring, summer, because we do seem to have two different categories of the meals that we eat, unless it's tacos that we seem to eat all year long. Now we are getting to the actual calendar part of the planner. And as you can see, I started filling out January already, and today is the 13th and we're going grocery shopping today after we get done filming videos. But I want to kind of talk about how I do this. So at the beginning of the month, I'm going to put all of the dates in the calendar, and then I'm going to highlight any special occasion dates that I know that I'm not cooking. So we have something going on and I know I'm not cooking for a couple days here, so I highlighted those. And then as I make the meals, that is when I go back into this calendar and I fill this out. And I do that so I'm able to use the following pages to do the meal planning, but this way I have an actual guide of the meals that I actually made for the month. So I do this meal planning page as I go, and they're already meals that I've already made. But a lot of times, even before I started on Instagram and doing social media, I would take pictures of recipes that I was making just to remind myself. And so those pictures are so handy. They come through Google Photos as a memory, and it's like, oh yeah, in March, I want to make Reuben sandwiches again. And that picture will pop up from a couple years ago, and it will help remind me that I want to get those ingredients to make that recipe. So I always try to write down the exact day that we had the recipe, and then as I'm taking pictures too, that helps remind me. And if I'm taking a screenshot of like a recipe I'm trying from somebody's blog, that way I have all of that information. It just all ties together for me. This next page is the monthly grocery budget tracker. So whenever you go to the grocery store, you're going to write down the date, the place, and how much you spent. And it also has a tracker to help you figure out what that monthly grocery budget should be. So all of our grocery money goes into its own separate debit account, and that way I always know exactly how much I have left in the budget and what is available to spend if I have a rollover amount. Currently, it kind of feels like there's a lot in there because we've been saving for 2 years for our biannual meat purchase that's going to happen in a couple weeks. So I know what my monthly grocery budget is to spend, and the other budget that we used to keep in a savings account, I just keep it all in one grocery budget now. But I like to keep track of what my current month is and what that running total is in my savings account. And about 10 years ago, we realized that we weren't being able to go out on date nights because we kept stopping through drive-thrus too much or getting takeout. And we had our budget divided between groceries and just eating out. So we tried to divide that eating out budget, whatever you're able to spend. No eating out month, and we weren't even supposed to go get coffee, but we did do coffee today. I am not lying. This was a get coffee on your way for the team today. But besides that, this is the only eating out that we've had this whole month because we are planning for a couple days later in the month that we wanted to save this month's eating out budget for. So no matter if you have $20 to spend for the month or if you're saving for a larger date night experience or family outing, like just allocate those funds to where they need to go. So I like to mark it down as if I was too lazy to cook, didn't have groceries in the house, or if it's an actual date night, something that we planned, a family memory kind of thing. And we keep track of it on this page. Each month has 4 of these weekly sections in them. So it is a 4-page section for each week, and then there's 4 of them. So each month actually ends up having a lot of pages to it. This one here that you start with is the weekly prep. And normally, even though the pantry items are at the top, it's the fridge items down here in the lower left-hand corner that are the first things that I am checking out. So a couple days before I'm going grocery shopping, I am normally trying to use up any leftover produce items I have in my refrigerator so I can make sure that I have a full, fresh, new crop of produce in the fridge. We also have milk on this list because I have some that needs to be used up before I get more milk in, and we just didn't drink as much because we were gone during the holidays. So this like fresh items is normally where I'm planning things before I'm going grocery shopping and wanting to use those up. And then I'm also checking in the freezer for items that are already prepped meals that sound good or things that I might have forgot about. I have like one little package of chicken thighs I keep forgetting to use. There's plenty of other different types of chicken in the freezer. I put chicken thighs on the list so I remember to meal plan around that. And then I'm checking things in my pantry. So when I was doing the big inventory video that we just posted, I noticed that we had enchilada sauce and coconut milk that are past their best buy dates, and I want to make sure that I'm making a plan for those. So I wrote those down on the list, and also as we were were doing that pantry chore, I was talking about the fact that we are going to be moving, hopefully by the end of the year. I'm trying to use up some of my homemade canned items that are on the top shelf of my pantry. So I wrote down the things like barbecue baked beans, green beans, corn, carrots. So I made sure to write down the items like barbecue baked beans, green beans, corn, and salsa. Those are some of those items up there on that top shelf that I need to kind of cycle out and use up. This weekly meal planner, I'm going to kind of show you how I divide meals up. Again, I don't like to meal plan, and I like to just have the ingredients in the house that I need to be able to be flexible with what I'm making. But this is some of the things that I'm doing. So I'm using one of the squares just for some breakfast ideas. I know that we have some asparagus that is over a month old in the refrigerator right now that we need to use up. So asparagus and eggs, and we always have different styles of oatmeal, whether or not it's instant oatmeal or still cut oatmeal. There's always oatmeal here in the house. And also I need to make some waffles because we're running low in the freezer. So whenever I'm making things like waffles or pancakes or muffins or any other kind of breakfast item, it can even be like egg items, I will batch cook extra of them, and then that way we always have some rotating through the freezer. This was a game changer when my kids were little, and I could always just pull out of the freezer anything that they wanted, and it was allergy friendly and higher in protein than the store-bought versions that you could get. And then for lunch, since we both work from home, and yes, I do work, I am on the computer on average about 10 hours a day besides all the other things that I'm doing. So when I'm busy on the computer and I just need a quick lunch, we normally will put our dinners away in lunch size portions. I am diabetic, so when we are dividing out like dinner items, I'm making sure like mine has less rice or carbs than the other container that Mike might be eating. So when we're putting it away, we are actually packing our lunch for the next day, but it's here at the house. It's kind of funny, but we do that. And then I pull out other things, like I had some bagels that Mike likes that were in the freezer. I know that we need to use those. Those are great when we can add protein to them, and he can make a sandwich out of it. And then I made ribs over the weekend, so we have those for leftovers. And then there's an option to always have smoothies at my house. So I kind of made a list of about 4 things that we can kind of remind ourselves over the next week or two. The ribs need to be eaten now. The week or so that we have these available for lunch. Then I kind of go through a couple more boxes. So I make a batch cooked box. So once a week, I try to make a dinner that I am cooking for tonight, and not just for leftovers for a lunch, but to make a whole other meal or two that goes into the freezer. And that way I am constantly rotating out those freezer meals and I don't have to cook so often. So if I'm making taco meat, instead of making 1 pound for one dinner, I'm making like 3 to 4 pounds, and I'm putting taco meat away for the next month or two. Those kind of things that are so simple, they just take a little extra step, and you're not having to spend very much extra time to have a fully cooked dinner ready for you. So I have enchiladas down using the enchilada sauce that I remembered that I have, and then I put a couple different items that I knew that we were missing in our freezer rotation. So as I'm thinking about it over the next couple of weeks, I know taco meat was on there, which is kind of funny. I keep talking about it. And then shepherd's pie we haven't had in a while, and so that would be another thing that I should meal prep and put into the freezer. So this week I'm only going to make 1 freezer meal, but in the next couple weeks I kind of have that reminder there that these are other meals to make. And we're going to be making more videos on how I make freezer meals and rotate the food out. So it's another reason to subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And then under that, I keep a list of the freezer meals that are in season in the freezer and I want to try to use up. So some of those things right now that we have in the freezer are Korean beef bowls. There's meatballs in the freezer. There's zucchini lasagna, pasta sauce, and spaghetti squash. Pasta sauce down there, a meat pasta sauce, which is kind of funny. I'm having a hard time saying it because we actually call it pastor sauce here because it's a recipe from our pastor. So even on the container, sometimes I will write pastor sauce instead of pasta sauce. Anyways, I do have a speed learning neurological thing, so sometimes when I'm talking too fast, I can say the wrong word and not mean to. But this one, it actually is. We call it pasta sauce, and it's pasta sauce. Anyways, and I do have some spaghetti squash that is in the pantry that I want to use up. It's actually from fall harvest, and now we're in the middle of January, and so it's kind of time to use that up. I have already used up all the other zucchini and other squashes that were in there. And then I always have something in this bottom box that is an easy meal. So we have been traveling to want to move a lot lately, and so we're not necessarily home the day before to pull something out of the freezer. So I want to make sure that I have something that we can walk in the door and have it on the table within 20 minutes. So 30 if I'm pushing it. There's always an option to have something going on down here. I swear when my kids were little, it was quesadillas all of the time. Now we've kind of moved on for that a little bit, and this week it will be chicken Caesar salad or chicken Caesar wraps, whatever I decide I'm in the mood for. Mike used to tease me that I used to only like to cook when I was cooking something fancy or for company. So I do realize that occasionally I like to make a harder meal, especially for like home on the weekends and there's not much going on. And so I do keep like a little box of what my next hard meal is going to be. And in this case, it's going to be Bang Bang coconut shrimp. It's kind of a knockoff recipe from a restaurant chain. And so it's something that I make occasionally, a couple times a year, but it is one of those harder recipes that take a long time to do. So the next time I'm feeling like I want to make something a little bit fancy, I know that I have all the ingredients in the house to make this. I can make it with shrimp that's in the freezer that I need to use up, or I can make it with chicken. And then I have one box down here of like a recipe that I want to try. Normally this is a recipe that I'm working on for the blog or for content, and so it might not be all the way where I'm ready to post it yet, and I'm still kind of tweaking it. So right now for the next recipe that I am working on a farro grain bowl, which is an ancient grain. It's something that I have in the pantry that I bought a while ago that I need to start implementing into recipes a little bit more, but I thought if I could add some squash and some apples and maybe some kale in that and mix with the flavors, I can make something that's really hearty for the winter time and also would be a great meal prep like lunch item. So that is one of the recipes I am working on for the blog. The next 2 pages in the planner are my shopping list. So normally I have Mike really trained. If we get low on something and he's taking something out of the pantry, that it goes on the list right then. So not necessarily when the bottle is empty, but when a bottle of barbecue sauce comes out of the pantry to go into the refrigerator, that's when I'm writing it on the list. Again, I only go grocery shopping once every 3 to 4 weeks too, so I'm trying to always plan ahead. But my first stop in grocery shopping is always Costco, so I keep that list on the left-hand side, and then I will sometimes like box in an item on there that is a different budget. So if I'm buying a supplement, or this time I need to get Epsom salt, that's not something I'm going to eat and it's not part of my groceries, so I keep those on the list, but I kind of indicate that they're not for the grocery budget, and that way when I'm at the store too, I will remember to separate them in the grocery cart. And then my next stop kind of varies depending on what time of year it is. Currently, my next stop is going to be Fred Meyer's because our farmers markets aren't open during the winter time. So Fred Meyer's to us here in the Pacific Northwest is like a Kroger in the rest of the country for most of you. Fred Meyer's here is the same like name brand as Kroger. So if Kroger sounds more familiar to you, that's normally my second stop. And I do love that our farmers market that we normally go to, they're the ones that provide the produce for this grocery store. So I know that I'm getting the best quality produce that I can get at the grocery store that's local to me. Once or twice a year, I will also go to 𝐂𝐿, and there's certain things that I will get at 𝐂𝐿. They have a lot of the bulk bins that you can measure out exactly the quantities that you want of items. It's a little bit further of a drive, so I don't go there as often. And then we also occasionally, it's honestly about once every 2 years, normally the year that we don't get a half of beef, we will do an Azure standard order and really ramp up some of those items that we have in the pantry pantry, and with as your standard, they deliver locally and you go and pick it up. But it is the best prices for bulk items that are organic and the best quality. This notes page is kind of like how you would use the sales page, is how I'm using it on this one. This is as I'm going through the grocery store, I am seeing if budget allows, if I find things that are on sale. Like top of my list, it's January, is protein powder. I'm looking for that. That will probably max out my budget right now. But there's some other items on there also as I'm going through the grocery store and looking at things. They're not things that I necessarily need right now, but if they were on sale, I would grab them. And then another thing I do is like I use arrowroot instead of cornstarch. I am almost out of it. I did look up the price per ounce to see how much it was on Amazon if I got an organic one on Amazon, and made sure that it was the quantity I wanted, because I don't want 5 pounds of arrowroot. I want just a quart or smaller of it. And so I'm making sure that it is per ounce. I write that down what it is, and if I happen to see it when I'm at the grocery store and it's comparable, then I will get it when I'm at the grocery store, or I will order that through Amazon. A lot of my spices and stuff, I do order the organic ones through Amazon, and we have all of those listed in our Amazon storefront, so you can see the ones that I purchase for my house. So these months just repeat, the weeks repeat, and then the months repeat in this calendar, and you can just keep filling it up for months on end. But I love being able to look back and see what meals we actually ate as a family and we really enjoyed, and it makes it so much easier when you're sitting there looking through last year's and being able to fill in some of the meal planning that you want to make for this year. I hope this video is helpful and that you get some tidbits of new information that you might be able to implement into your own meal planning, whether or not you like to meal plan or not, like me, and still have a variety of items available for your family. Now don't forget that there is a discount code if you want to get this planner. It is in the description, and make sure that you use that at checkout. And we are going to make an entire playlist of more videos like this, especially as we are going through the winter and trying to downsize some of our pantry items. I'm going to be posting more meals and batch cooked items.